autism. I've been questioning if I should get a diagnosis for a long time now. I hit a lot of the marks. Bad at social cues, stimming all the time, enrolling to computer engineering. You know, the usual. But there's one thing that keeps me away from going to the doctor. One thing that clouds my judgment. One thing that makes me think, maybe I'm not autistic after all. Paradox games. Known for their deep mechanics, historical settings, and buttons. Tons of buttons. I'll be honest, I'm intimidated by their UIs. And maybe that's why I haven't really enjoyed them. I've put a couple of hours into Stellaris here, a couple of hours into Crusader Kings there, but it never really clicked with me like it seemed to click with other people. The main one I keep revisiting is Crusader Kings II. I'm still not sure if my brain just isn't made for this type of game or if I just don't know the mechanics well enough. So, I'm finally settling it. I'll sit down, take notes, rewatch endless tutorials, all with one objective in mind: unifying Ireland. Which, I know it's a very easy thing to do, but I'm terrible at the game, so trust me, it'll be a challenge. High Middle Ages, King Murhead of Munster. Let's go. My first mistake appeared pretty early on, by choosing who to marry based on my wife's stats instead of who she's related to. I mean, who gives a shit if she's good with money when you could marry the Princess of Denmark instead? But as you can see, I was so good at the game that I didn't even realize you had to press send in order to actually marry someone. My next mistake was putting my Chancellor to fabricate claims on likes. I know that my train of thought was, well, it's gonna take some time to take over Desmond, so I'm gonna be efficient and try to produce a claim while I'm at it. But Likes has an army of over 1,000, while I barely have 700. Moorhead, you're gonna get molested, bro. I'm sorry. Mistakes are the best teacher there is. Mistakes and my friend who has 5,000 hours in this game, I guess. He pointed out a bunch of stuff to me and just guided me towards the right way to approach the game. I was still very risk-brained in the beginning. If you have more soldiers than your neighbor, you attack them and win. Rinse and repeat. But that doesn't really work in Crusader Kings II. First of all, even if you manage to conquer a lot of land, eventually kingdoms will make defense pacts against you. So this strategy isn't viable forever. And the more realistic part is, you won't be able to just have endless wars. Eventually you have amounted a lot of land, and weirdly enough, that's when the problems start. The more land you have, the more vassals you have. And the more vassals, the more people will want to rebel, usurp, and even kill you. They also get really mad the more time you spend using their armies, so good luck managing to take over another country while yours is rioting against you. With that in mind, I was able to make some adjustments like marrying my son to the Princess of Denmark. Even though I didn't know how to use this to my advantage, I still did it. Yay! Other basics that I got right were putting my marshal to always train troops and putting my steward to always collect taxes. While I was busy explaining all of this to you, dear viewer, Earl Ragnvald of Ormond was found out to be plotting against me, so I tried to capture him, of course. And failed. I fucking failed to capture him, and now I have to go to war to get back land that I already had. And with this war, I learned something very important. Look at the war score. I kept battling this army for half an hour even though I had already won because I didn't realize I had to send a peace offer. And if the war score is 100%, they will always accept your demands. Fuck. I also went to war with one isle of my army having no general. It was a shit show, but hey, it's my first time actually attacking someone. I'll be honest, I didn't expect this much depth to every single aspect of the game. I thought caring about war beyond who has the biggest number was a Hearts of Iron thing. At the end, I somehow won against the rebellion and went on to finally conquer Desmond. But now I was stuck, still waiting for my Chancellor to produce a claim so I could try to conquer Lakes. King Murhead became not only old, but sick to the point of possibly dying, and I discovered that the Earl of Desmond, the land that I had just won, is conspiring against me. So I try to imprison him. 71% chance of success. I lost. I lost to the rebellion of Desmond. And Murhead died, so now I'm his chud son. Cool. High Middle Ages, King Murhead of Munster, immediately marry a 16-year-old. Look, you can either be good or win, but not both. And I need as much allies as possible, so unfortunately King Murhead will have to become a pedophile so I can have the King of Denmark as my ally. That's life. I also picked Become King of Ireland as my ambition because it gives me some benefits like being able to always subjugate people and reducing the cost of creating the kingdom. And most importantly, my Paradox Games addicted friend came to my rescue again and showed me something that I spam every single time I possibly can in this run: the Find Character function. On the bottom right corner of the screen, there's a tiny button that says Find Character. You click on it, then on Search All, and voila, you can see every character in the game. See that Chancellor with goddamn 13 to diplomacy? Switch him with someone actually fit to do the job. Oh, and talking about Chancellors, Alan might be one of the most important characters in this run. I put him to fabricate claims on Connacht, and literally 5 minutes later he already had it. Other Chancellors took half an hour to do what Alan did in 5 minutes. I then went to war with Connacht, won, and put Alan to work on Westmeath while I took over Brefna via a de jure claim. The problem is, the peasants of Desmond began to revolt at the exact same time as my war with Brefna started. Somehow it's always Desmond. But I didn't panic. I'm not the king I once was. I decided to take over Brefna first while the peasants took over Desmond. Winning Brefna wasn't hard, but the peasants now had 2,000 men in their army, while I only had 1,200 left after the war. But again, I'm not the king I once was. I have money now, and money buys mercenaries. After spending 150 gold, I was left with a 2,700 man army. 1,200 were mine, while 1,500 were mercenaries. Thus, my boot met the throat of the peasants, and I got Desmond back again. One of the reasons there weren't as many revolts this time was that my spy master, Dovno, was also one of the goats. If I saw a faction rising up, I put him in their county, and sometime later he would inform me that we could discourage my vassal without imprisoning him. Perfection. What happened for quite a bit was, Dovno made sure my vassals didn't rebel against me, Alan created claims, I pressed the claims, and won the war. Even my guards were doing their job properly. I had so many prisoners I accepted money to release them. But after a lot of winning, King Murad died of old age, and with him were lost 2 titles, Petty Kingdom of Connacht and County of Imania. Now it was his son, King Brian II, which had less land than his old man because of the lost titles. And of all the times for him to die, he died in the middle of a war with Meath. But I had already raised the levy, so Brian just took the wheel and won. It's kinda hard to lose against a smaller place when you have 2,000 soldiers. My next step was to get the gang back together, since all of the positions appointed by the last king get vacant once you become his heir. Alan and Dovno are still kicking, and the rest of the council isn't bad at all. Now my real problem is, how do I get this huge fucking chunk of land called Connacht back? Well, as you can see on the screen, the guy who controls Connacht is my imprisoned half-brother, and the next in line is me. You wanna know a fun fact about prisoners? The option to execute them has no chance of failure. And right after I got my duchy back, I noticed a new icon pop up. These icons usually just tell you something important needs to be done. This one in particular says, the following titles can be created: Kingdom of Ireland. So I go and choose Brian's ambition to be King of Ireland, and then I go and become King of Ireland. Turns out you only need the majority of Ireland to become king. The whole time I thought you needed the entire island, but still, I'll finish what I started. I turned the independent rulers into my vassals and prepared to take over the rest through wars. Brian ended up dying of old age, and his son, Caiman, took over. Now the only thing remaining is the 13-year-old Queen of Leinster with her 600 levies. It's gonna be a massacre. So, why the fuck do I see the number 5,000 on my screen? I lost. I lost the last battle needed in order to unify Ireland. Turns out the little fucker was allies with the King of Brittany and the King of Scotland. That's how she got more than double the size of my army. But, alas, 5,000-hour friend came to teach me one last thing. What I thought were alliances were actually just non-aggression pacts, so he taught me how to actually create allies. Now I'm broke because I spent way too much money on mercenaries in the war against Likes. All I can do is just wait until my economy goes back to normal. The little queen is also broke because she did the exact same thing. Not only did she get help from allies, she also hired mercenaries. Fortunately for me, the King of France just offered his son to marry my daughter, which creates a non-aggression pact, and that can be turned into an alliance. And right after that, the King of England asked to marry my sister. It's gonna be a massacre. At this point, I'm just waiting to get enough prestige to declare a war and also helping the King of France in some random war of his. We're allies after all. Finally, the time came. And to my surprise, the little queen was already in a war, so her levies were busy somewhere else. I declare war and ask both kings for troops. I had 12,000 men taking over Likes. She tried to attack my capital while I was performing a siege at her castles, so I split my levies, one part defending my capital and one part doing the siege at Likes. I won. The tiny land of Ossory was still left to conquer, which was one of her vassals that I somehow didn't get when I defeated her. But it's no problem. They have 200 soldiers. I have 2,000. As I bask in glory after unifying Ireland, I noticed something. I only have one heir, my daughter, and she's in a matrilineal marriage with the guy from France. So, the entire kingdom goes to the French heir. My lineage loses Ireland. If my daughter has a child, I fucking lose. I started a plot to kill my daughter's husband. I invited everyone that I could. I bribed everyone that I could. The problem with just inviting a bunch of people to a plot is that the low intrigue ones can possibly get drunk and just out your entire plan to everyone else. But I was racing against time, so I went all in. I either kill this guy before they have a kid, or I lose. And after I spent every single penny I had just bribing people, I was able to get the plot power to 161%. All that was left to do was waiting and seeing if the plot would work or if someone would rat me out. The problem wasn't my brain. All that I was lacking was just playing the game with A, some guidance, or B, failing and googling things for hours. Fortunately for me, I could go with option A because, my god, option B is miserable. The game is extremely enjoyable, but the process of learning it is as appealing as cock and ball torture. The thing is, I don't know how you can make this game more intuitive without losing its depth. Other games like Dark Souls, Devil May Cry, and even most JRPGs have a small, limited set of actions you can do. Hit, roll, heal, attack, defend, use an item. The depth comes from how many combinations you can do with these actions and learning where to use them appropriately. Crusader Kings II's depth, on the other hand, comes from both a huge amount of different actions and the multiple ways that they can be combined at the right time. You have to both understand how the succession system works and that you have the option to kill your half-brother, how to create pacts through marriages, and how these pacts can become alliances. Learning every action you can do and how they work takes a lot of time, but once you learn it, it is truly rewarding. So, is it worth it putting 10 hours into learning the game properly? Honestly, yes. You might spend 10 hours feeling like shit, but the other 200 will feel fantastic. I even kept playing it. Currently I'm Caimon's daughter, the Queen of Ireland, though I ended up losing my title because everyone thought my cousin would be a better ruler than me. If you want to see me getting everything back, the Patreon's in the description. Thanks for watching.